2025 was an incredible year for anime, having some of the greatest titles within it that could end up in my top 30 of all time, but even potentially even in my top 10 of all time. It had some of the best seasons in anime in the last decade and has me really hopeful for anime as a medium. We had Mao Mao find Jinchi's frog, this mage bond merger with the Red Ranger in another world. This girl got the power to dominate anyone and she chose Wincest. Danmachi aired one of the most peak EDs ever. A Donghua put most Japanese isekais to absolute shame. This guy's OP power was making shitters. We found out that the future is tanukis with chainsaws and battle tank receptionists. Our very first AI anime aired, and it was really while the Rent-A-Girlfriend creator had a new adaptation of a new series, Rent-A-Sister. Hopefully he won't fall in love with one of these girls. While anime fans constantly ask, where are the parents in anime? Takapi's Original Sin said, be careful what you wish for. Aw, a story about a girl and her dog. Wait, no. Goddamn, girls are thirst buckets too. Only in anime can a guy body swap with a hottie and do absolutely nothing with it. Oh look, an apocalypse anime. Gohans never change. An anituber took out 5 mortgages to make one episode of an anime. He gains OP powers by having a debuff, death by sex. While One Punch Man Season 3 was underfunded, people still made bank off its failures every single week because for some reason people keep forgetting that it's not a good adaptation. The most toxic rom-com aired, and people absolutely loved it. We had a Gordon Ramsay crossover with Fire Force. It's raw. Don't worry, RAM prices suck right now, but if this is the future of AI, bring it. Of course you can't have a dance anime without Michael Jackson moves. Tackle is the strongest. Bind to help boost enrollment in geology courses. When a girl asks you to call her Opaisan, call her Opaisan. And finally, while the world moves to more censorship, Japan gives a collective you with some of the raunchiest anime yet. Reincarnated as a cat, everyone wants to them. Time-traveling Pantsu. This bot was built to utilize all of her ports. Too bad she forgot how to plug things in. The hottest painting scene ever. 100 Girlfriends went there. And the award for the craziest and raunchiest moment in 2025 goes to Nukitashi for having a girl so hard, she flew into a passing truck. Joke reel aside, I have sat down for hours upon hours on end looking through every single show that I watched this year, trying to figure out what is in my top 10. And yes, as usual, when I got down to the 10th one, I realized, holy crap, there's so much more I want to put into it. But either way, this is it. I've decided we're finalizing it by making the video. This is my top 10 anime of 2025, starting with number 10. To Be Hero X is by far one of the most entertaining shows that I've watched in a long time. It is one of those series where I won't sit here and try to sell you on some sort of oh my gosh, compelling story that's going to absolutely blow your mind. It's just one of those series that every single week when I sat down to watch it, I had a blast watching it. Yes, it's partly because of the unique style that they had for it, kind of switching back and forth between 2D style, CGI with a really good artistic style to it, and yes, having some incredible music by Sawano Hiroyuki. To Be Hero X essentially takes place in a world where everybody can gain what they call trust value, and the more trust value you have, which is basically people's trust in you, the more power you can obtain. And eventually that combined trust manifests in some sort of power. And it's always based on what sort of people perceive in you. A good example being there's a blogger that's running around, traveling around and blogging about all the location they go to. And eventually they gain so many fans, and those fans want them to go different places, and so that power manifests in the ability to transport themselves to other locations. But the thing that always kind of grabbed me the most about the power system is that there's always a side effect to it. And the idea that the more people want you to do something, it turns into a negative as well. Take, for example, this guy that gets popular because he held up this beam in a burning building from crushing this girl. Well, the reports going out for the story for him was the fact that he stood firm and he never backed down, he never crumbled. And thus, his power makes it to where he can never bend over. And this torments him his entire life because he has to sleep standing up. He can't even sit down to take a It's like absolute torture. This is the quirkiness, but yet the logic that just makes this series so interesting to me. Every single hero that it went through, what their power is, how they got to that point to gain that power, and yes, what are the sort of struggles they face being so popular and dealing with the fandom and dealing with people's expectations and, yes, the curse of their power. But yes, deep down inside there's the subplot, the greater plot line, which is the corporatizing of superheroes. The idea that as trust value came to this world, and as you had superheroes appearing, and as you have villains and threats to the world, you have companies that will come into play, take advantage of that, and make themselves the shining beacon for mankind. And so you have all the backstabbing happening in the background, assassination attempts, and all that kind of stuff that really does kind of bring an edge to the storyline. Through and through, I just absolutely love To Be Hero X every single week that I watched it. Just all the different stories of all the different heroes, what they're dealing with, how everything comes together. I will admit that yes, it jumps around in time a bit too much, and that could be a little confusing for some people, but overall, it was a fantastic ride, and I cannot wait for this series to return because, damn, it was hyping at the end there. The ending was super hype, but yes, my number 10, To Be Hero X. Moving on to my number 9, it's time for me to make some people upset because this isn't going to be higher than number 9. My number 9 is Orb on the Movements of the Earth. My gosh, Orb is going to go down as one of those series that's probably not going to end up in my top 10 of all time, but it's definitely going to end up in one of those sort of timeless anime. The one that in 30 years, I'm going to look back and say, oh, did you watch Orb yet? Yeah, watch that. That's a classic. That's a legendary anime that I think everybody needs to watch. It's like a monster kind of show. But Orb on the Movements of the Earth takes place in a setting where you essentially have the church has sort of risen up to the point where, yes, most mankind are believers. And the influence on the church is so strong that, yes, nobody really questions what the church claims, especially when it comes to science. But our focus zeroes in on individuals who all seek truth. They all seek knowledge, and especially in astronomy itself, where mankind believes that the Earth itself is at the center of the universe and that everything gravitates around it. These individuals are realizing very quickly that, no, I don't think that's the case, despite the fact that having thoughts like that could end up making you branded as a heretic and, yes, ultimately killed. The thing that grabbed me early on about this series and just would not let go is that thirst for knowledge, that craving, the scholar's desire to seek the truth that people just cannot let go. Despite the fact that when you walk outside and you see some individual, you're afraid that that might be an inquisitor. You constantly question, did I burn that paper that had my notes on it well enough? Is somebody going to find this and I'm going to end up on that being burned alive in the town center? Despite those fears, they keep craving the knowledge, and the way this portrayed that was so beautifully and masterfully done. Hands down, one of my favorite arcs in this storyline was Badeni. And Badeni was so special because he was sort of somebody in the middle, somebody that believed in God, but at the same time also knew that the knowledge that people were trying to obtain was technically true. The idea that there's something incorrect in what the church believes, and I cannot let it go. This is a guy that he will punish himself just to get back to his studies so that he can continue to find the absolute truth. I love that desire and that thirst for knowledge. And again, the way that this series portrayed that was so beautifully done. I will admit that I don't think they necessarily had like the biggest budget possible for this series, but what the director and the people working on this did with that budget and the time they were given absolutely nailed that feeling of thirst for knowledge. And it was something that had me gripped and would not let me go for so many episodes. Again, like I said before, I believe this series will probably go down as one of those legendary shows, one of those ones that years from now people will look back and say, did you watch Orb? And for that reason enough, it's easily in my top 10 of 2025. Moving on to my number 8, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Season 2. My gosh, I absolutely loved this season of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. I enjoyed Season 1, but hands down, Season 2, things just absolutely ramped up. For those who don't know, it's a series that follows this girl, Nene, and she's going to this school that has all these different wonders of the school. And yes, like a lot of them have, the Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Where you go to the toilet stall in that one abandoned bathroom in the, side building, and you knock on the door of the stall and you say, Hanako-kun, Hanako-kun, come out, and they'll grant you your wish, only to exchange for something else in return. And yes, she meets Hanako, which is one of these wonders of this school. And then Nene finds herself sort of wound up into the world of the yokai and spirits in this area. And yeah, like I said before, while Season 1 did grab me with its characters and, my gosh, beautiful, unique art style and everything, it wasn't until Season 2 where I suddenly said, holy crap, this writer has a story to tell. The moment we find out sort of the fate of Nene herself, the main character, this looming threat that is endangering her life, things grab and they don't let go. It is sort of one of those moments where suddenly the writing just keeps getting better and better and better and better. Sort of a similar situation that I faced with Bungo Stray Dogs. When Bungo Stray Dogs took off, it just didn't let go and it keeps getting better. This is a very similar situation. I love getting more into the wonders themselves, the barrier between the living and the dead. Aoi's story was absolutely phenomenal. Great character developments between her and Akane. There's so much building up, and my gosh, the ending just has me please more. Please more. Like, enough that I had to rush out and get the manga. I'm like, I need to keep going. This series is so phenomenal. I absolutely love it. Definitely one of those series that I don't see enough people talking about, and I cannot wait for more. For my number 7, anybody that's been watching my channel for a while now probably knew this is going to come up. I mean, it got its own dedicated video. How often does Andrew make a dedicated video for his show unless he's going to be bashing it, which that rarely ever happens. But yes, Ruri rocks. I absolutely adore so much about this series. And it's honestly one of those types of shows that is not really possible without somebody like Studio Bind working on it. It's a show that it's an adaptation about a manga that is about girls going out and finding minerals. They're just hitting rocks, finding minerals, and talking about how the minerals are made. How can that possibly be entertaining? Well, Studio Bind. Studio Bind just somehow brings these characters to life and makes this such an enjoyable and lovable experience. The concept here, to be a little more specific, is about this girl named Ruri, and she loves jewelry. And then she finds out that her grandfather used to pick up different, minerals and whatnot up in the mountainside, and that she could probably make her own jewelry. So she decides to go out there to see if she can find some minerals. When she goes out there, she's not having much luck until she runs into Nagi, who is a graduate of geology. And Nagi pretty much introduced her into the world of geology and mineralogy. And at first, while Ruri initially is driven by her greed, her desire to find diamonds and stuff like that, eventually it turns into discovery. It turns into the deeper meaning behind all the minerals that she's finding, how they're made, how they're found, the scientific process in which people find this stuff. And yes, the beautiful act of the creation of them. How deep it gets into, how many thousands of years it takes to make all this stuff. And don't get my earlier statements wrong. It's not as if this doesn't have anything besides animation and the great work of Studio Bind. I do love these characters. Ruri, again, is somebody that is inspired to see the deeper value in the minerals that she's finding. Nagi herself is sort of inspired by Ruri to go out more because she wants to help Ruri discover this stuff. And she ends up finding new things that she wasn't able to discover before. You have other characters like Yoko, who's like a big bookworm, but thanks to the inclusion of Ruri now, she's kind of finding herself wanting to go out and discover things in person now, whereas before she only wanted to look at them in books. You have Shoko, who's a classmate of Ruri's, who gave up on mineralogy and her love for rocks until, yes, Ruri kind of drags her back into it. It's a heartwarming aspect of people inspiring each other, having that desire to go out and seek out things and discover things on your own. But yes, more than 50% of my love is just how Studio Bind takes those characters and makes them believable, living, breathing characters. The animation, their expressiveness, how everything moves around, it's just some of the greatest animation you'll find this entire year, and potentially in the last few years. Definitely, if you have time, give Ruri Rocks a try. It is an absolute little treasure, an absolute gem of the year, and I absolutely loved it. Moving on to my number 6, I absolutely love Medalist. Please go watch Medalist. I, coming into the show, did not realize I was going to love it as much as I did. This is definitely one of those kind of underdog stories that just has you constantly jumping out of your chair and going, go, you could do it, you could do it. But yes, it follows a guy named Tsukasa, and Tsukasa unfortunately got into figure skating way too late, and that sort of, in his eyes, held him back from actually becoming a professional. Well, at some point, he's looking for a new job, and it turns out that job is working at a skating rink. And after he comes to the skating rink, he ends up bumping into a girl named Inori. Now, Inori is sort of somebody that he sort of sees himself in. This is a girl that looks like she obviously loves figure skating, but at the same time, she's getting into it way late, and it doesn't seem like she can get the approval of her mother. And what follows this is Tsukasa becoming Inori's trainer and helping her learn figure skating through and through, at the same time facing issues like the mother not accepting the fact that she's doing figure skating, that based on the fact that her sister got injured at some point in the past and completely wrecked her figure skating career. It eventually gets into the process of them getting their licenses and whatnot and going to different competitions. And yes, meeting all the other figure skaters that Inori's going to go up against. This series is kind of the best of what I've found in a lot of sports series. The idea that when you come into it, you expect it's just going to be about the sport itself, but very quickly you're reminded, nope, you got to have characters to have good competition, and it nails that. I loved every single character they get into with this series, even ones like Rio, who I hated at first, little snot-nosed kid. Eventually, like all these characters, at some point I'm cheering on all of them. Despite the fact that Inori is our main character and she's so precious and I want her to succeed, I find myself constantly catching myself, yes, cheering on who's going against her, just because their stories are so fantastic. There's so many characters here that have something they're striving for, yet something that is pushing them back. That all combined with what I think is a very well handled performances by Ian G.I. No, this isn't your Yuri on Ice. This isn't hand-drawn animation for the figure skating itself. But there's an argument to be made here that despite not being able to have the budget to hand-draw every single performance and utilizing CGI at the same time, what was done with that CGI was really fantastic. They actually did a lot of mocap for the performances themselves with actual figure skaters, and then pretty much took that and put them into CGI models. And the work they did with that, the perspective shots and the overall directing of the performances themselves was chef kiss. Notably Hikaru. There was one performance by Hikaru where essentially the entire performance was done without a single person on the sideline talking. Typically when you have performances or battles or whatever, you always have the people on the side going, oh my gosh, they did this. No, everybody shut up, which was perfect because me personally, I was so captivated by it, I wouldn't have said anything. Like, it was such a beautiful performance and I absolutely loved it. But anyways, yapping on, I absolutely love Medalist. Please go watch Medalist. I'm so happy we have another season coming up literally next season, and I cannot wait for it. Getting to the halfway point, we move on to number 5, which is Call of the Night Season 2. My gosh, I cannot get enough Call of the Night, and I need Season 3 already. Give me Season 3. But no, I love Call of the Night so much. For those that missed my coverage of the first season, the thing that I love so much about this series is the vibes. They absolutely have a vibe with the series. It's in the manga, it's already there, but I think what Leiden Films has done with it in an animated format is definitely kind of enhanced it quite a bit. Just the choice of colors, definitely bringing the unique style of the character designs to life has been phenomenal. It follows a guy named Ko who has a problem at school and he decides not to go to school anymore, and instead at night he goes out and just spends the night walking the streets. Well, he ends up running into a vampire and then eventually gets pulled into the nightlife with her. And yes, with that comes him meeting different vampires, and eventually getting to season 2, we're getting into somebody that now wants to hunt down the vampires and seemingly has discovered a way to actually kill the vampires, which is, yes, kind of shocking there because it seems like they're immortal. Yeah, while I loved season 1, love the character stories, I really love sort of the personal feeling of each of the stories, each episode, getting to different people that Ko meet, that sort of gives him a different perspective on adulthood. Season 2 is really where things kind of grab you, and again, similar to Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, doesn't let go. I was telling some people the bathhouse. Once you get to the bathhouse episode, and you have Anko confront everybody, it was like, okay, suddenly the table just got flipped. Suddenly we're like, holy crap, there's a threat here. It's a legitimate threat. And yes, it sort of facilitates learning more about the characters, because this idea of this person knowing how to kill the vampires is that it forces them to have to address their past, get into what made them a vampire, which oddly enough, a lot of them don't know, which is really, really interesting. I loved it. I loved it so much. Had a great climax to the entire season. And like I said before, it has me really excited for what's to come next. Moving on to my number 4. This is where things get difficult, by the way. We're getting into the top 4. We're already getting to the moment where, like, all of these are, like, number 1 for their own reason. And I had to figure out which one of these is going to beat the other one. Which one is your favorite baby, basically? But ultimately, I came to the decision of my number 4, Apocalypse Hotel. I absolutely adore Apocalypse Hotel. Please, more people go watch Apocalypse Hotel. The moment that I watched episode 1 of this series, I was just screaming for people, please go watch this show. It is so unique, so beautiful, and so phenomenal. For those who don't know what the series is about, it opens up with mankind, facing some sort of catastrophe. And they have to essentially flee Earth. So they get in space rockets and they fly up into space and they leave behind the Earth to pretty much nature. This one hotel kind of stands out amongst all these different other buildings that are having like shrubbery growing over it and everything. That's because just before mankind left, the hotel manager started staffing the hotel with robots, AIs and whatnot. And so after mankind has left, these robots are taking the time to keep this, hotel cleaned and staffed and everything. All for the hopes that one day mankind will return and they'll be ready to welcome them into the front door, because they're always about that first impression, welcoming people into your establishment. Early episodes, the emphasis here is to kind of get to know the staff, the different robots within this hotel, specifically Yashio, who's like the head, robot of all the other robots. But eventually, yes, we do come to the question mark of how much time has passed. We're talking hundreds of years. Mankind's been gone, and yet these robots sit here and wait for the next person to show up. And you see sort of the passage of time is causing problems because now the robots are kind of breaking down. There's the fears that they won't ever be able to welcome the humans home. And then we have visitors. Eventually, we do have visitors in the form of, yes, aliens. And this turns into this whole thing where you have Yashio, this head maid, is trying to figure out, okay, how do I best serve this alien based on all these quirky aspects that they're doing? How do I know that I'm, doing a proper job for them? And yes, even concluding the idea of how do they even pay for this stuff, in which point she takes them down to the bank and she opens up the bank vault and hands them the money to pay them with it. Through and through, this was such a beautiful ride. Cygames Picture just dumped some massive budget into this. Every second of this series is not even wasted. It's such a beautiful experience, whether it's the Tanuki showing up and them being like these absolute fools that drive Yachio nuts. The episode where they have to go to a nearby city where they run into a trimmer. And then you have one of the Tanukis busts out a chainsaw and tries to overcome her, innate nature as a Tanuki to be, running away in fear. The environmental robot trying to nuke this other alien, seeing it as a threat. Yashio getting destroyed and just having part of her body replaced by a tank lower half. It never ends. Every single one of these episodes was so unique and so beautiful, and I loved every single minute of it. I highly suggest checking out the series. And again, like I said earlier, if it weren't for the stuff above this, it'd be number one. Moving on to my number 3. Yes, still absolutely duking it out with number 1, number 2. Ask me in 10 days, and I'll probably say, wait, that wasn't my number 1. The Apothecary Diaries Season 2. My gosh, I absolutely love this series. Enough that I've actually gone out and finally bought in the entire novel series that's available right now. I love Mao Mao's story. And yes, similar to, again, Hanako-kun, like I was mentioning earlier, this is one of those cases where as this series goes, as it gets further and further into it, the more and more it feels like this author is really like learning their craft. Like the storytelling is getting so much better. I had issues with season 1 in the idea that those segments in the second core where it started getting a little dry. That wasn't the case with season 2. The moment season 2 kicks off and eventually getting into Lolan's story, it grabs you and it doesn't let go. I absolutely loved Lolan's story. It was just like, it was something I wanted. It was something that I wanted. And when I finally got it, I'm like, yes, we're finally getting into Lolan's story. And then it's like, no, I don't want this. Please stop. Please stop. And I give this author massive credit for sticking the landing. Like, this ending was so good because it wasn't like so much like, I didn't feel like it was being nasty with the viewer. It made sense and I can see the signs. So I didn't feel like I was being tricked. And that's very difficult for a lot of authors to really pull off. Just love it. I love this story so freaking much. Mao Mao's character is just so lovable. I love her personality. She's so quirky and she's like a great main character. And we have Jinshi having his character finally getting fleshed out, which is one of the things that I felt like was sort of missing in season 1. Getting more into his character, really starting to develop him, making him into a character that I think really does actually stand next to Mao Mao in some way. I just can't get enough of it. The character writing is so phenomenal, and that's one of the things I'll definitely give it massive credits for. If you have not started watching this series, please go watch The Apothecary Diaries. It is just top tier, difficult to really find anything that kind of matches it. Which gets us into something that can, which is number 2, ReZero Starting Life in Another World, Season 3. My gosh, this season of ReZero was absolutely phenomenal. First things first, White Fox just held nothing back in the animation department. Just some phenomenal action sequences, and yes, with this season overall, there was a lot of fighting happening. Garf's fight sequence was absolutely chef kiss. The fight against Regulus was phenomenal. Al's fight over here. Wilhelm over here doing a fight. Like, there's all these different fights happening all around the city. And again, doing a really good job and keeping the quality up for the entire thing. But yes, that aside, at its core, I absolutely love this author's writing. ReZero for me has always been like one of 3 of the pinnacles of isekais for me. It's Mushoku Tensei, it's A Sense of Bookworm, and then it's ReZero. These 3 right here I think are like the cornerstone of the isekai genre. And yes, Tape and his work with ReZero what I love so much about it is having like this overall plot line that constantly just has me wanting more, constantly give me stuff in every single moment of it, but at the same time always presenting other question marks as well. I just cannot get enough of the world that he is building and all these different characters having these very interesting quirks to them and backstories that I just want to learn more about. And season 3 definitely provided me a lot of insights into so many different characters. I love the characters, I love the storytelling, I love the world building, and again, White Fox doing an incredible job with the animation, and I cannot wait for more of it. So, number 2, Re:Zero, season 3. And that all brings us down to my number 1 anime of the year 2025. Again, another one that I think if you've been watching me for a long time, you probably know what's going to be coming up here in a second. It's a show that got its own dedicated review video. It's a show that I covered on a weekly basis. I could not stop talking about it. I had it in top lists over left and right. It's a show that is going to end up on my potentially top 10 anime of all time. I think it's a show that a lot of people will probably be, talking about in the future. And maybe for some people, one of those, you're not an anime fan unless you watch this show. Yes, my number 1 anime is Takapi's Original Sin. This show is a very special show for many reasons. Yes, let's just talk for animation-wise. In the medium of anime itself, it is a visual masterpiece. The work that Initia did, the animators behind the scenes, the director and everybody that worked on this project was absolutely top tier. Absolutely beautifully portrayed, artistic choices left and right. So many scenes where you have different emotions being portrayed. It was done in an artistic way. The example that I always give to people is Naoki in the classroom when sort of this thing comes to light, and it has this almost fisheye effect of everything bearing down upon him. The visual perspective bearing down upon him. And it was so beautifully done. Just visually, hands down, this is probably one of the most beautiful anime that I've watched ever. Visually and animation-wise, probably the best animated piece ever. Well, I know, it's probably a bold thing to say. Visuals aside, what Takapi's Original Sin is for me is both life-changing and sort of one of those series that makes you sort of reflect on yourself and how you view things. And it cannot be understated how incredible it is for it to be able to do that. The phrase that I use to describe this series is hurt people hurt people. For those that don't know what this series is about, it follows a girl named Shizuka. And Shizuka comes across this alien that she names Takapi. And Takapi is from this happy planet that wants to come to this planet in order to bring happiness to people. And so he's chosen to give Shizuka happiness because she fed him something when he was starving. But Shizuka doesn't want anything. She doesn't believe in magic, so she keeps denying him and constantly just going about her day. Well, eventually you find out what is bringing Shizuka down so much. It's the fact that at her home, her mother's never present. Her parents are basically neglecting her. And then at school, she can't even find any sort of happiness there because she's constantly being bullied by a girl named Marina. Well, the interesting thing is that despite the fact that you can obviously see that Marina is a horrible person, the kind of bullying that she does to Shizuka is just, it's heart-wrenching. It is hard to watch. Eventually, we find out the reasoning of what's fueling Marina in doing what she's doing. And that's where we get into that whole idea of hurt people hurt people. And it's in that whole thing there that grabbed me and just wouldn't let me go. And I ate up every single second of it. It was, again, very heartbreaking, very hard to watch. I give this studio massive amounts of credits for never holding anything back. Even at the very beginning, they gave a little kind of caption that says, hey, this is the studio talking. We're going to get into some really nasty stuff. We're not going to hold anything back. We're not going to censor anything. We're going to give you the whole story out of respect of the manga. And I thank them for that with every ounce and fiber of my body. Because again, what I got from the story is self-reflection. I've seen the other side of things. I was once bullied. And so it's very cool to kind of see sort of what can hurt somebody into hurting somebody else. Not for saying they're okay for doing the bullying, but to sort of see how things are caused. Because I think without knowing the root cause of the problem, you can't stop it from happening. And I think seeing how your actions can cause other problems for other people is important. And I also think there's an element of seeing how hurt people can support other hurt people. There's a beautiful message at the end of everything. And for that and many other reasons that I made an entire video on and went yapping about, Takapi's Original Sin is my number 1 anime of 2025. And that's it. That is it. We're done. It has been a massive struggle, a tough struggle, but that is it. For honorable mentions, I have too many. Yes, first things first, I will mention Lord of Mysteries. It is not in my list. I said that with my summer list as well. It's not in my list because it is technically a danhwa. It's not an anime. So that's the only reason it's not in the list. If I was including it, it would probably be up there and probably the 4 area. Probably in the 4 area, but I absolutely love it. I highly recommend people checking out Lord of Mysteries. I loved it so much that I went out and bought the novel series. I am looking forward to reading into it and watching future seasons of it. But yes, incredible series. Go watch it. Kowloon Generic Romance. This one was fighting for number 10 slot. I absolutely love the show. It's a really cool, like, adult mystery romance series, which we get very rare of. It was a series that just had me kind of picking apart what's in the background, what the character is doing here, what does that sign say. It was one of those shows where you can actually kind of predict things if you actually look into it. 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You, Season 2. Love the series. I absolutely adore that series. It's one of the few harem series that just absolutely works for me. It has a main character that I actually do like root for getting those 100 girlfriends because he's such a cool guy. But I will admit that this season was lacking in certain areas. Like, some of the episodes were kind of weak. I'm still looking forward to season 3. I adore this series, love the shenanigans that it gets into. Soul Leveling season 2, I can say it this time. I wasn't a big fan of season 1, but I will say season 2, cinema. I really did like season 2. It was a fun little ride. The storylines are actually getting interesting. There's stuff that's happening that I actually give a rat's butt about. I won't praise season 1, but I will praise season 2. It was a fun ride. Tatsuki Fujimoto, 1726. Really love that series. Danmachi Season 5, another one that was fighting to get my top 10 slot. It was right there with Kowloon Generic Romance. It's in the door. It's trying to sneak its way in, but I'm like, no, I can't fit anything anymore. I gotta close the door. Season 5 was phenomenal. Overall, I've been very mixed on Danmachi, and again, I think that's attributed to the fact that the author wasn't involved enough, and now that he's involved, especially Season 5, things have really ramped up for the series for me. I thought Freya's story was incredible. I really did love this story arc. It really did have me at the edge of my seat. Really loved a lot of the character moments in it. But hands down, if it keeps up like this, it's definitely going to change my perspective of the series overall. Arknights, still loving that series. I think not enough people watch this series because they assume it's a gacha game story, but it is super good, and I really love this season. Secret of the Silent Witch. I adore that series so much. I highly recommend people checking it out. The main character is an absolute dork, and I love her to death, and I cannot wait for more of that series. Hopefully we get more here soon. Uma Musume Cinderella Grey was a fun ride as well. Just every single match has been just one of those moments where you know what's coming, but then when it happens, you're like, holy crap, hype levels through the roof. The characters are just racing each other. The sound effects are phenomenal, and everybody's cheering on. You're just going, holy what's going to happen next? It's just so good. Ishra Season 2 was phenomenal as well. Love the new characters they introduced with that season. And finally, The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity was a really great series as well. A great little romance series. Just love my little foofball. And that's it. That's it. Stop. I can list a million shows. It was such a good year for anime. It's such a good year for anime when I could sit here and just fight for what's going to get my 10 list, and I have a massive mentions list. Again, I can keep going on, but I have to stop it. I have to stop it eventually. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Hopefully you found something in here that you want to check out. My list has never been about, my list is better than your list. My anime are better than your anime. It's always about, like, discovery. I hope that people find something in this list. They go, oh, that sounds interesting. I didn't actually check that one out. And they go check it and they find their next favorite anime. That's what I always love, is the discovery aspect of it. So yes, with that, go down in the comments down below. Let me know what your top 10, top 5, top 3, whatever you have, your top anime of the year. I definitely appreciate you guys' support throughout the year. And I hope you guys will join me for 2026 because it's already looking like it's going to be insane. But I hope you guys liked this video. Hope you found it informative. If you did, hit the like button down below. And I thank you guys for watching. If you want to support this content, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.